Hey everyone, Laura here. I hope you're having an incredible Tuesday. I really wanted to do this as a live just so it could be interactive, but unfortunately Instagram had a different plan. For some reason, when I go to do lives at times, it doesn't allow me to access the live function of the app. So if that happens to anybody else, please let me know. But I still want to share what I have been called to share, and that is really why I decided that for myself, and for my practice wanted to get certified in NLP, hypnotherapy, and other modalities, and why it was so important to me and what happened in my personal life to really allow me to lean into this and make this part of my identity and who I am. So before I do that, I want to preface this video by saying that no way, shape, or form am I stating that any of the modalities that I may mention in this video cure any mental or physical illness, and they all act as complementary practices. So now that I got that legality out of the way, I wanted to share late fall of 2019, I started to experience tension headaches. I want this to be super interactive even though it's not live. So as you're watching this video, if you pick out something, you're like, oh, that happens to me, that is happening to me, that happens to my girlfriend, please put it in the chat. Like, it's so important for us to be having these discussions. So late fall 2019, I started to have these really aggressive, I guess is the right word, tension headaches every single day without fail. And anybody that experiences tension headaches, they're not as painful as a migraine per se. They're just annoying because your head is heavy, your eyes are heavy, and it's challenging to do the everyday aspects of life with this tension headache always being present. And that was my reality for right up until January. I started doing yoga and meditation for tension headaches and taking CBD oil, and nothing was quite working. So that moves into January of 2020. This is before COVID. COVID was just starting to come on the scene, and when I went to the hospital that night, we actually had our first case in Toronto at the hospital where I went, but it was still very much something that you contracted through travel and nothing really transmitting in the community. So this had no bearings in terms of COVID. So one night, it was January, nothing out of the ordinary happened that day. I had my mom over, I had my brothers, we were all about to eat, and we're Italian, so loud, there was a lot of stuff going on, and one of my brothers was just about to he was telling us a story about something that happened at work that day, and I was just about to ask him a question when all of a sudden, everybody started to move away from me. I started to move away from them, and I knew I was going to pass out. So I remember I said to my mom, you need to get me some water, I'm going to pass out. And that really wasn't a scary point because I'm a fainter. Like I fainted, like I could faint on a whim. So that wasn't the part that scared me. Things started to go numb, my lips, my hands, my legs, things just started to numb up. And really what was scary for me, and this sounds so dramatic a year later to say, or over a year later, but I thought that night that I was dying because what happened was, and anybody that is an energy worker or understands the energy of our body will resonate with this. It was like somebody cut my head in half and it opened up, and all the energy that had been stored, all that tension, all that stale energy that was in my head, it was like somebody cut my head in half and all the energy just released out of my crown chakra. But it was painful. And I've had kids before. I've went through labor twice, once without an epidural. I've felt pain before, but this was a whole other level of pain. So I remember I said to my mom, like, I'm dying, like there's something really wrong. And one of my brothers was Googling, and I'm like, I think I'm having an aneurysm. He's like, no, if you were having an aneurysm, you'd be dead. He's like, you're having a panic attack. And I'm like, no, I'm not having a panic attack. And it took me by surprise because, I'm in health and wellness. I educate people on mindfulness and stress reduction and the mind-body connection. How can somebody who, spends her days educating people not have a panic attack, let her stress or chronic stress or buildup or stale energy, whatever your belief system is, get so bad that it manifested into a panic attack. So long story short, because it's a long story, so I want to keep this short. That night I went to the ER because the paramedic was like, if you don't start to learn how to control them, you're just going to continue to have them all night. And in the ambulance, I remember asking the paramedic, I said to him, people actually live like this? And he's like, they do, and very effectively. And it blew my mind how people could be living like this. Like, you're literally okay 1 second, and the next second it's like you basically feel like death is upon you. And so the next few weeks were not any easier. Like I said, for somebody, like, I've studied the mind body connection for years now, and I had no sense of anything. The few weeks after that, it was like my body was going in one direction and my mind was going in another. And the few months, actually the next few months after that, were not any less challenging. If I'm going to be honest, if you experience fight or flight, let me know in the comments. I'm not going to get into fight or flight. It's such an intensive topic, such an important one, but intensive. So we could discuss that on another live. But for a few months after, I've experienced fight or flight almost every single day, and it was manifesting in a lot of different physical symptoms. It was literally like I was healing one thing after another, after another, after another, because I'm somebody that really believes in the energy of the body. And so I was, really leaning into healing the different energy centers, but it was like almost a domino effect. So what led that to NLP and hypnotherapy? Like I said from the beginning of the video, I have studied the mind and body connection for a long time, and I know that the body is the servant of the mind. One of the main functionalities of our subconscious mind is to protect our body. So I knew that for myself, even, that if I could become even more of an expert and even get to know how our mind works at a deeper level, I know that would greatly impact what I was experiencing in my daily life. For example, with hypnotherapy, we create emotions and thoughts so strong that they change our body biochemically. So I knew, and then NLP, we learned the language of the mind and how to really change our thoughts and our programming and things at an identity level. I knew for myself, if I knew more of that and really became, like I said, an expert in that, I knew that it would greatly impact the way I was living my life, because it wasn't enough for me to say that I could live like that effectively. Like, I have 2 kids. It wasn't enough for me. So that's where I really started to look for an NLP certification. It had been a while coming. There wasn't one that really jives with me. And then that's where a good friend of mine, Kata, introduced me to Yes Supply, and that's why I decided to get my certification through Yes Supply. Primarily because they offer a lot of different modalities, and I am somebody that loves the science. I am somebody that loves the spirituality. I am somebody that loves the energy aspect of ourselves, of the creation of ourselves. So it was important for me to be able to have a tool bag of modalities that I could believe in. And I knew that, working such an incredible hybrid, and for us to be able to just live the way that we're meant to live, right? Like I said, our one of the primary functions of our mind is to preserve our body, where our bodies are meant to self-heal. And I truly believe that we're all meant to just be living with this incredible harmony of health, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and at every level. So I really wanted to share that. If you have any questions with anything that I had just said, please put it in the comments. If any of the story resonate with you, please, again, share it in the comments. If it's a little too personal, you could DM me. But it's so important that we get the conversation talking about, panic and fight or flight, because these are things that people may be living with that they may not even realize that, it is what it is. Or, we live in this cycle of extreme stress every day, chronic stress, especially in the times that we're living with in terms of the pandemic, that we don't even realize what we are doing to our body in a long term. Because I could tell you that, like, if I had to say that I was stressed, I could say that, I haven't been stressed the way I was stressed maybe, let's say 10, 13 years ago, but this is when it chose to manifest in my body, right? Because before something physically happens in our body, it needs to go through a lot of different levels before it starts to manifest physically in our body. So that's where awareness needs to come into play, that we need to take care of ourselves. we need to give ourselves the breaks that we need. We need to give ourselves the mindful practices. We need to really, really take care of ourselves. So I hope this resonates with you. Like I said, leave anything in the comments or DM me if it's a little bit more personable, and have an amazing day.